Hey everyone, welcome to episode 16. Today's guest is Charmaine Li. This episode is a bit different as Charmaine has shared a text-based interview which you can read on her episode page on Substack. Some housekeeping before we begin. There were a few responses to my mention of AI or artificial intelligence in the last episode, and since this episode is about dreams, I want to share a few thoughts on an artistic project I did a few years ago called Wild Sun Catchers, World Making with Mermaids, which is linked in the show notes, that involved dreams, mermaids, kelp forests near California, and AI. So the storyline goes, a kelp forest mermaid living by and within the Channel Islands in Southern California shares thoughts and stories about home, sea otters, time on land, memory, shallow subtitle dream worlds, and the impact of the climate crisis. So that's what the story is about, and I translated this written story through a website that has AI generated images that convey the story through these type of visuals. If you want to check out this project, it's on Tumblr, so you'll need to make a Tumblr account if you don't have one already. And, in the last episode, I just said, oh, the AI overview is popping up in passing. And it's like you never know what you say will, I don't know, it's like you never know the things you say in passing or the things you think you're just, just saying kind of, I don't know, that part of what you think is just in passing stays with someone, or it bothers someone, or someone wonders, why did you say it that way? And so I'm just bringing that up to clarify that I'm still figuring out how I feel about AI. I do know that I am curious about AI because when I started this project, not the story, but when I started this AI project to create visuals for this story, I noticed I was very curious about AI. And I was just playing around with ChatGPT a few days ago. So I noticed that there's this curiosity. Um, but I also know that there's a lot of people out there who don't like AI. Um, there's been news articles about the harmful impacts of AI. And so I think with anything, it's always important to figure out like how I feel or how you feel. Um, I do think there's an intelligence to group think, but it's also something to be mindful of to be able to think for yourself and decide for yourself, is this something that I, is this something that I like, that I agree with? But even beyond that, I did realize at that time of like being curious but unsure if I should engage with this technology, and there's all of this groupthink around me, and it's just so much is going on. But beyond all of that, I did realize that I needed to be educated about AI, and I wanted to be educated about AI. I still do, because I do feel that like it's easy to not know anything about AI when there's so much noise around and so many voices that are saying like AI is bad, AI is bad. And so you stay away from that bad thing, but you don't know anything about it. And I just don't want to be in an uneducated place when it comes to AI because it is an incredibly powerful technology that's starting to show up everywhere. And I was just talking to my sister. She was saying, "Oh, AI has been around." Um, and I was like, "Oh, it has?" Like, it sounds like it's not that it just suddenly, was invented last year. And so I'm just thinking about what I don't know about AI, um, because I realize, I realize in all that's going on in the world, when I scroll on Instagram and I see people sharing their political opinions and there are these political debates and blah, 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 I realize that actually I'm not educated on a lot of things. I don't know all of the facts. And I'm just really interested in, like, what is it to disagree with something that I don't know much about? And so that's why when I started this project, world making with mermaids, world making with AI, I was like, I'm going to generate these images, and at the same time, I'm going to research, well, what is AI? You know? Um, so there's a part of my Tumblr website called World Building with AI, and under it, I'm just going to share you what I wrote during that time. This must have been like 2 or 3 years ago. I said, and now, oh, see, and I've started writing this story like, I don't know, maybe it must have been 4 years ago. I started writing this story about mermaids dreaming in the kelp forests near the Channel Islands in California, near California. And so I say, and now, 2 years later, I spiral back to wild sun catchers to continue to imagine and build this dreamy underwater world through AI, artificial intelligence. I used Night Cafe for this project using two art generation models, SDXL 1.0, which is the quote state of the art in open source image generation, and NC Hyperreal, I'll spell that HYPERREAL, which quote adds detail, vivid colors, and a hyper realistic style. My username is Pisces AI. Then I have an image of elk kelp sourced from the Channel Islands National Park website. I'm sorry if you hear my clicker in the background. I go on to say, to be honest, searching for AI art generation websites has felt overwhelming. There are a lot of exciting options, and many are free with premium plans. The possibilities of AI are endless. But what about the terms and conditions? How will my personal data be used? I will admit, my excitement got the best of me, and I started generating images on Night Cafe without thoroughly investigating the platform. I say this because although AI promises to change the world in massive and incredible ways, it already is, a lot of the conversation around AI is how to use it ethically, and there are many examples of how it's been extractive. I've imagined bringing 3 stories about merfolk to life through film and photography, but I don't have the resources right now to see my visions through. AI is a digital tool I can use now to share how I'm imagining these long-term, maybe lifelong stories I'm writing. But the question is, at what cost? The AI images produced from wild suncatchers are now out in the world. What will happen to them? Will my contribution be erased? Will people remember where the mermaid wearing hibiscus flowers in her hair came from? Anyone in any field sharing anything could ask these questions. These are relevant questions. What traces of extraction are in the images I'm showing you on this website? How does the image generation work anyway? I don't actually know. As I've said before, I'm okay with being a learner in public. I don't have all the answers now about AI, even as I share this website. I would like to go back to what contributes to the foundation of my water art practice, and that is, quote, an activism of inquiry, which I learned from Rado Bao Akamolafe. AI needs an activism of inquiry, and I'm sure that's already happening. So bear with me. I want to share a little bit more. What I do think would be helpful for AI users or creators is if AI platforms could have labels similar to organic, non-GMO, or fair trade that speak to the platform's values, ethics, and AI practices. I think this could help people feel informed and make choices. Then there's this part of the website where I share some of the research I've done into artificial intelligence. I say so far, and unfortunately, AI is proving to be a problematic technology for many different reasons. Here are a few links from my ongoing research. And I put 3 links here: the 15 biggest risks of artificial intelligence. Experts doubt ethical AI design will be broadly adopted as the norm within the next decade. And the last one is indigenous knowledges informing machine learning could prevent stolen art and other culturally unsafe AI practices. So I found those articles, and I made a point to just share 3 because I think there's so many articles out there about what's wrong with AI that it's like, gotta just find 3, hone in on 3. I continue to say it's important to remember the ways AI exists and could exist are designed by human beings. I noticed that there's a lot of distrust of AI itself and not toward the companies who design and use it to take and extract, especially it seems without consent. I also noticed that I hardly encounter information about people working to address the ethical issues, and I think adding this to my perspective will help me understand what's going on in the worlds of AI more fully. Besides my complicated feelings about AI, I do find that generating images from text-based prompts is really fun. There are a lot of ways to world build, and I want to see how AI helps me and you imagine the characters I'm creating and the stories I'm writing. I want to world build using multiple approaches, so AI isn't my primary or final mode of expression. Although AI is really cool, I still believe some of the greatest technologies are our bodies, imagination, understanding that we can create, in quotation marks, without AI, and community, among other things. We can't forget this. Nothing can replace these things. As I learn more about this technology, which is changing the world, I think the way I use AI in my world making with mermaids will continue to change and evolve. So if you want to check out this project that I did a few years ago, which it's this project just has been me building on top of it year after year, but then I stopped. Check out the link in the show notes, Wild Sun Catchers, World Making with Mermaids. And I just wanted to kind of share, because I mentioned AI in the last episode, wanted to share some of my thoughts on AI and connect it to this episode with Charmaine because Wild Sun Catchers involves dreams, and dreams are not dreams dreams it themselves itself is a technology. Dreaming itself is a technology, and I know there are folks out there who are merging this technology with other technologies like apps and so on. So I'm sure other people have typed in their dreams in AI or chat GTP. So I was just trying to interweave, different things to to address AI, but include dreams and connect it to this fabulous um, interview that Charmaine has given. And I hear my stomach rumbling. Oh my gosh. The microphone picks up the sound so well. I'm like, how did my headphones pick that up from the last episode? My stomach was really grumbly. Um, and yeah, I just want to say that at the end of the day, I think it's important as human beings to not lose, to not like give away our ability to imagine and tell stories and create, to not give that all away to AI, because I think that's sometimes what it feels like, that, well, stop imagining, stop writing stories, stop creating. Whatever happens when you're just sitting there and something pops in your head, stop that and let AI handle it. And I know that, other people will see it that way. I'm not saying like that is the main way we should view AI, but that has come up for me. And I want my imagination and my ability to tell stories and create to be even stronger a decade from now, 20 years from now. I don't want it to be weaker, if I use that word. I don't want it to diminish over time because I'm giving my imaginative faculties and my creatrix power and my connection to the void and to whatever it is where ideas come from, to this technology, you know? So I think with anything that I think last episode I talked a lot about power, and I think sometimes I've even done it. AI can be communicated in this way where it's like AI is more powerful than us, when I think it's actually the other way around. We don't have to be overpowered by AI. Um, Even if it starts kind of showing up everywhere in life, we don't have to be overpowered by AI. I feel like we still can decide, well, I think I'm gonna write this story. Maybe this time I'm not going to ask AI to do it. I'm going to write this story, this fictional story, or I don't know, this essay myself. This time I'll do it. Or, you know, does that make sense? And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I could be here for a long time sharing thoughts and my opinions. But as we see all of these new technologies, old new technologies come more into our lives, and even, oh my gosh, there goes my stomach again. I'm sorry if you hear my stomach grumbling on the mic. Um, Even if, we start seeing some of these technologies come into our lives in unexpected ways, it's so important, as many people have been saying for a while, to remember the technologies that we've always had that are inherent in us. Most, if not all of us dream. That is we're born with this quote technology, this yeah, we're born with that. Um okay, well, I feel like I spent a lot of time on this part, so let's get into this episode um with Charmaine, and yeah, move forward. So Charmaine is the first international guest on the podcast and the second dream tender. Dr. Kelly Bulkley was the first dream tender I interviewed on episode 10, Dream Journals Throughout Time. I definitely recommend you check out that episode. And I wanted to wait a while before interviewing people in other countries, but I really wanted to hear Charmaine's perspective on dreams, especially as the initiator of ONEIRIC SPACE, which I will talk about more in a moment. Whenever I go on to ONEIRIC SPACE, I say to myself, this is amazing. Like, wow. And so I wanted to interview the person stewarding this project with so much thoughtfulness and care. ONEIRIC SPACE is an ever-evolving research and publishing practice in which Charmaine explores the interplay between dreams and waking life at an individual and collective level. It's one of the places I go to support my personal dream research and dream tending practice. I've been inspired by many, if not all, the interviews shared through ONEIRIC SPACE's newsletter series, Circulations at Sunrise, which explores forms of dream sharing and how these forms are entangled with aspects of social, cultural, and political life. Here are some of the titles and topics of a few newsletters, and I'm sorry, just to preface this, I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of the interviewees' names. I feel really self-conscious about that, but I'm going to try my best. So some of the news articles that's been sent out. One, a way for our ancestors to communicate with us. Writer, poet, and healer Guitsian Moncho shares how a series of dreams led her to recover ancestral memories and reconnect with the Sangoma traditions of her South African ancestors. Another newsletter, Dreams as a Space for Learning and Healing. Artist Daniel Godinez-Nivon on indigenous understandings of dreams and delving into non-human dreaming worlds. And finally, a third newsletter that was sent out, Dreams Offer a Different Orientation to the World. Interdisciplinary scholar Sharon Slowinski on the political potential of disclosing dreams to others and dreaming as a world-making activity. Yeah, so these are just a few newsletters that have been sent. There is a ton more in addition to this to explore on ONEIRIC SPACE. Here is Charmaine's bio. Charmaine Li writes, conducts publishing experiments, and assembles soft gatherings alongside friends and collaborators, among other things. Her practice is rooted in engaging with storytelling, memory, and knowledge through an embodied, multisensorial approach, moving between writing, publishing, public readings, and spatial installations. Charmaine's work reflects on the processes of attuning to ungraspable forms of knowing, nightly dreams, intuition, ancestral memory, and interconnected patterns that emerge in nature. She is interested in tracing the cultural and historical forces that elevate certain knowledge systems while marginalizing others, and particularly drawn to ways of living and knowing that embrace multiplicity, uncertainty, and change as fundamental aspects of being in the world. Charmaine also initiated ONEIRIC SPACE, a research and publishing project delving into the relationship between nightly dreams and waking life, both at an individual and collective level. Alongside conversational partners and collaborators, ONEIRIC SPACE investigates dreams as a site for gesturing towards generative patterns of being, feeling, and imagining together. She also works as an editorial consultant, providing content writing and strategy services to companies, brands, and agencies. Born in Toronto, Charmaine lives and works in Berlin. So I have one reflection from her interview. So many reflections, but I'm just going to share one. I've had many meaningful, powerful, and mysterious dreams in my life. There are dreams I've had that have stayed with me years later, dreams that make me feel like there's something more going on than me sleeping and the dreams are just brainwave activity. I've woken up with just fragments of dreams or just waking up with a word. I've definitely, like many other people, have had dreams that don't make any sense. I've had dreams of family members. Charmaine shares a meaningful dream that involves both her maternal and paternal grandmothers. And it made me think about the dream I had with my great grandmother years ago, where she was in a room sitting on her bed and she was watching TV. And she seemed more mobile than when she was alive. Or like her body was more lucid. She just seemed more lucid. And I was walking down this hallway and I was seeing the light of the TV and I went in her room and she said, Simone, what are you doing here? And I've shared that dream before, um, publicly, and that dream has always stuck with me because I feel like there is another realm. I think the dream world is filled with a lot of different realms, but I just feel like I've had other dreams where I've encountered people who are dead or they're ghosts, and in some of those dreams, people are asking me like why I'm there. I made another Tumblr website where I shared some of my dreams and talked about there's this time in my life where I was having a lot of dreams about people who were dead and people who were ghosts. And I don't use the word passed away because I just remember saying to myself while I was dreaming, like, these people are dead. And because I didn't know them. And maybe that's why I say the word dead, or because I said that in the dream. But I don't know. When my great grandma's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, where am I? And I've asked that question many times whenever I'm in, these dreams where people are like, what are you doing here? Um, so yeah, dreaming is really a multiverse. If we want to think of it that way, it's so interesting how people conceive of dreaming, of the dream world, how it's even described as a world, or another dimension. And I honestly enjoy the mystery surrounding dreams, just these experiences, these happenings that can't, you know, you can't, sometimes you can't, like dreams are something that can't all the way be articulated, defined, and contained. So yeah, just thinking about Charmaine's interest in like ungraspable forms of knowing, because dreams certainly are ungraspable. And there's like billions of people on the planet. That shows you the vastness of dreams. I'm sure people are dreaming about similar things and patterns show up, but can you imagine all the different kinds of dreams people are having? And I really enjoyed the meaningful dream Charmaine shared um, with her grandmothers and cooking and cooking for one of her grandmothers for the last time. And it was so interesting that her other grandmother was there too, because it's like, oh well, the other grandmother didn't have to be there, but she was. And I really love how Charmaine says it was a dream that felt like it was offered from afar. I don't know. I just feel like I'm starting to feel convinced that like dreams aren't just like brainwave activity, you know? I think it's both, you know? I think it's both. I think it's brainwave activity and that's it. And I also think there's an afar out there. Many afars. And I like how Charmaine describes this dream that was offered to her. That it was an offering of some sort, you know, and I don't know. I'm just like I just feel like oh, I know what I want to say, but I don't want to say it. I just feel like there's something more going on. I feel with many of the dreams that we have, maybe not all of our dreams. Um, and I just want to thank Charmaine for sharing this dream of hers, this dream memory, because now it's a dream I carry in my memory. And I love being able to go back to the text to read it and remember. And one thing I love about um, one thing I love about text is that it really helps me to like absorb information and to sit with information and it gives me a chance, the text gives me a chance to remember and retain information. And so just having this dream in writing itself is a gift for throughline listeners to be able to sit with Charmaine's words overall and the dreams she's sharing and her experiences and just be, you know, be with what she's sharing and yeah, I just feel like yeah, maybe I'll just end it there. I wanted to say that I feel like there's something with time, you know, that the more I I'm sure the more I sit with this text-based interview, I feel like the more I'll be able to sink in and notice something I didn't notice before and and experiment with some of the things that Charmaine has shared. So yeah. Well, I don't want to be too rambly. I hope you enjoy the interview. Would love to hear your thoughts on the Substack page in the comments section or the Instagram post. Thanks so much for sticking with me till the end of this intro slash episode. See ya next week.